When does a man's betrayal of his own people become unforgivable? What if that man is your closest brother, and his treachery leads to the death of hundreds of innocent souls? I am son of Red Sun, one of the last great warriors of the Lakota people. On that cold winter morning in 1876, when I discovered what my beloved brother White Wolf had done to us, my spirit split in two. The Great Spirit forced me to make a choice: blood ties or the honor of my people. The decision I made that morning became legend, turned me into a name still spoken with reverence and fear to this day. But let me tell you this, once you hear this story, you will never forget it. Before you continue watching this story, less than 5% of you viewers are actually subscribed. If you believe in justice against betrayal, in the sacred bonds of brotherhood, and in a people's fight for survival, hit that subscribe button right now, because the story I'm about to tell you will spread like wildfire across social media, and you'll want to be among the first to hear this legend. November 1876. In the Montana territories at the foot of the Great Mountains, our tribe had made winter camp. I was 28 winters old, already bearing the scars of 12 battles against the Blue Coats, the white soldiers who wanted our land. My name was known across the plains. Son of Red Sun they called me, because I was born as the sun rose blood red over the Bighorn Mountains, and my mother said the Great Spirit marked me for a warrior's path from that very moment. Our camp that winter held 300 souls, elders who remembered the old ways before the white man came, women who kept our traditions alive through song and ceremony, children who still laughed despite the hunger that stalked us like a wolf, and warriors, 50 of us, who stood between our people and extinction. But here's what nobody in that camp knew yet, except for one man. In 3 days, the Blue Coats would attack our winter camp at dawn. They would come with 200 soldiers, repeating rifles, and orders to leave no survivors. And the man who told them exactly where we would be, who drew them a map of our camp's layout, who revealed which lodge held our weapons and where our warriors slept, that man was my blood brother, White Wolf. White Wolf and I had been inseparable since childhood. We hunted our first buffalo together when I was 13 and he was 12. We received our warrior names in the same ceremony. We fought side by side at the Battle of Rosebud Creek, where we counted coup on 7 soldiers between us. When my wife died giving birth to my daughter, White Wolf held me while I wept for 3 days. When his father was killed by gold miners, I rode with him to seek justice, and we returned with those miners' scalps hanging from our belts. I loved him more than any man alive, and that's what made his betrayal cut deeper than any blade ever could. He started 2 moons before, though I didn't see the signs then. White Wolf had been captured during a hunting party by the Blue Coats. They held him for 5 days before releasing him. When he returned to camp, he was different. Quiet. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. He flinched at loud noises. I thought it was the shame of capture, the trauma of being held prisoner. I put my arm around his shoulders and told him, "Brother, there is no shame in survival. You are home now. You are safe." But what I didn't know, what none of us knew, was that the Blue Coats had broken him. Not with torture, no. They were more clever than that. They showed him photographs of burned villages, of dead children, of warriors hanging from trees. They told him, "This is what will happen to your camp, unless you help us end this war quickly, mercifully. Help us find your people, and we promise no harm will come to the women and children. We only want the warriors to surrender." They lied, of course. But White Wolf, traumatized and terrified, believed them. Or maybe he wanted to believe them, because it gave him a way to justify what he was about to do. The night before the attack, something felt wrong. I couldn't sleep. The wind whispered warnings through the lodges. My daughter, only 7 winters old, woke crying from a nightmare. "Father," she said, her small hand gripping mine, "I dreamed the wolves came, but they wore our brother's face." I held her close, singing the old songs my mother taught me, but her words troubled my spirit. In our tradition, children's dreams often carry messages from the Great Spirit. I decided to walk the camp's perimeter, checking the guards, ensuring all was secure. That's when I saw him. White Wolf, standing at the edge of camp, in the darkness, looking toward the eastern hills, and in his hand, he held a small mirror, catching the moonlight and flashing it in a pattern. 3 short flashes, 2 long, 3 short again, a signal. My blood turned to ice. I knew the bluecoats use mirror signals to communicate. But why would White Wolf? Then I understood, and the understanding hit me like a war club to the chest. I moved silently, the way our fathers taught us, until I was close enough to hear him whispering, "Tomorrow at dawn, north side of camp. The warriors' lodges are marked with red paint. Come quickly, make it clean." He was talking to someone in the darkness, and then I saw them, 2 blue-coat scouts, hidden in the rocks, receiving his information. Everything inside me screamed. My hand went to my knife. I could kill all 3 of them right now, silently, and no one would ever know. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the memory of the boy who shared his last piece of dried meat with me when we were hungry. Maybe it was the sound of his laughter echoing in my mind. Or maybe the Great Spirit was testing me, asking what kind of man I wanted to be. I waited until the scouts disappeared into the night. Then I stepped out of the shadows. "Brother," I said quietly. White Wolf spun around, the mirror dropping from his hand. In the moonlight, I could see his face clearly. And what I saw there wasn't the face of evil. It was the face of terror, of shame, of a man who had betrayed everything he loved and couldn't find his way back. "Red Sun," he whispered. "I can explain." "Explain?" My voice was cold as winter wind. "Explain how you just told the bluecoats where our families sleep? Explain how you marked the warriors' lodges for their bullets? Explain how you marked to get 300 of our people killed?" He fell to his knees and I saw tears streaming down his face. "They promised me, brother. They promised if I helped them they would spare the women and children. They said they only want the warriors to surrender. They said they only want the warriors to surrender. The bluecoats don't take prisoners anymore. You've seen the massacred villages. You know what they do. How could you believe them?" "Because I wanted to," he shouted, then caught himself, lowering his voice. "I wanted to believe there was a way to save our people from this endless war. I'm tired, Red Sun. I'm so tired of watching children starve. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of losing everyone we love. When they offered me a way out, a way to end it, by killing everyone in this camp, they said they wouldn't. They gave me their word as soldiers. I looked at this man I called brother, and I felt my heart breaking. The white man's word means nothing when they want our land. You know this. Deep in your soul you know this." White Wolf's face crumbled. "What have I done? Great Spirit, what have I done?" "Now, before I tell you what happened next, I need you to do something. In the comments below, tell me, have you ever had to choose between someone you love and doing what's right? Have you ever watched someone you trust betray everything you believe in? Share your story, because this isn't just about one tribe's struggle. This is about loyalty, about honor, about the impossible choices that define who we are. I had seconds to make a decision that would echo through generations. I could kill White Wolf right there, silently, and tell the camp he died honorably. I could wake the warriors and let them decide his fate. Or I could do something else, something that might save my people, but destroy my brother in the process. "Stand up," I commanded. "You're coming with me." I took White Wolf to the lodge of Sitting Bull, our great chief, who had led us at Little Bighorn just months before. The old chief listened to my report, his weathered face showing no emotion as I explained what White Wolf had done. When I finished, Sitting Bull looked at White Wolf with eyes that had seen 70 winters, 70 summers of war and peace, joy and sorrow. "Why?" he asked simply. White Wolf couldn't speak. He just wept. Sitting Bull turned to me. "What is your counsel, son of Red Sun?" This was it, the moment that would define me. I could call for White Wolf's death, and the council would grant it. Blood for betrayal. Justice served. But I thought about my daughter's nightmare, about the wolves wearing our brother's face, and I realized the Great Spirit was showing me something. We were tearing ourselves apart, becoming the monsters the white man claimed we were. "Great chief," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I say we use my brother's betrayal to save our people. The blue coats think they're coming to a sleeping camp at dawn. Instead, let them find an empty camp and an ambush waiting." Sitting Bull's eyes gleamed. "Continue. We evacuate tonight. Women, children, elders. They go north to Crazy Horse's camp where they'll be safe. The warriors stay. We prepare. And when the bluecoats attack at dawn, we give them a battle they'll never forget." The old chief nodded slowly. "And White Wolf?" I looked at my brother, broken and weeping on the ground. "White Wolf will stand with the warriors in the front line. He will have his chance to die with honor, to make amends for his betrayal with his blood, or he will survive and live with what he's done. Either way, the Great Spirit will judge him, not us." White Wolf looked up at me, shock and gratitude and shame all mixed in his expression. "Brother, I don't deserve—" "You don't deserve mercy," I interrupted, "but I'm giving it to you anyway. Not for you, for the boy you used to be, the one who was my brother, before fear made you forget who you were." Sitting Bull stood. "It will be done. Wake the council. We move now." The next hours were chaos, silent, disciplined chaos. Women wrapped sleeping children in blankets and furs. Elders gathered sacred items and medicine bundles. The warriors prepared weapons and took positions in the rocks surrounding the camp. We left the lodges standing, fires burning, making it look like people still slept inside. 300 people evacuated in complete silence through the night. It was a miracle orchestrated by desperation and training. By the time the false dawn lightened the eastern sky, our families were miles away, and 50 Lakota warriors crouched in the rocks, waiting. White Wolf knelt beside me, a rifle in his hands that shook slightly. "I'm scared, brother," he whispered. "Good," I replied. "Fear will keep you sharp. If I die today, if you die today, you die a warrior of the Lakota people. That's more than you deserve, but it's what I'm giving you. Don't waste it." The bluecoats came exactly when White Wolf said they would. 200 soldiers, led by a captain named Marcus Thornton, a man known for his hatred of Indians. They approached our camp quietly, professionally, rifles ready. They expected to catch us sleeping. Instead, they walked into hell. Sitting Bull gave the signal, an eagle's cry that echoed across the rocks, and 50 Lakota warriors opened fire. The battle lasted less than an hour, but it was fierce. The bluecoats, caught in the open, tried to form defensive positions, but we had the high ground. We had surprise, and we had the fury of men protecting their families. White Wolf fought like a man possessed. He was everywhere, exposing himself to enemy fire, killing with precision and rage. I saw him take a bullet in the shoulder and keep fighting. I saw him save young Two Hawks from a soldier's bayonet. I saw him become for one morning the warrior I remembered. When Captain Thornton finally called the retreat, he left 47 dead soldiers behind. We lost 3 warriors. 3, instead of 300 souls. As the surviving bluecoats fled, White Wolf collapsed. I ran to him, checking his wounds. The shoulder bullet had gone clean through, but he'd lost blood. His eyes found mine. Did I make it right?" he gasped. I looked at this man, my brother, covered in blood and dirt and glory. "No," I said honestly. "You can never make it fully right, but you started to balance the scales." He nodded, accepting this truth. "Then I'll spend every day I have left trying to balance them more." White Wolf survived his wounds, but the man who rose from that battlefield wasn't the same man who had knelt in shame in Sitting Bull's lodge. The council decided his fate. He would live, but he would bear the mark of betrayal. A scar was cut into his cheek, a sign that he had broken faith, but been given a second chance. For the rest of his life, White Wolf never stopped trying to redeem himself. He became the first to volunteer for dangerous missions. He gave his food to hungry children. He taught the young warriors about honor and the cost of losing it. And he never ever let himself forget what he had done. Years later, when the white government forced us onto reservations, White Wolf was the one who stood up to the corrupt Indian agents who tried to steal our rations. He spent 6 months in their jail for striking an agent who was selling food meant for starving children. When he got out, the scars on his body had multiplied, but the scar on his cheek, the mark of his betrayal, he wore with something that looked almost like pride. It reminds me, he told me once, of the man I never want to be again. I watched my brother transform himself through sheer force of will and daily acts of penance. The Great Spirit works in mysterious ways. Sometimes redemption doesn't erase the sin, it transforms the sinner. But guys, here's where this story takes a turn that nobody expected. 10 years after that winter morning, something happened that proved the Great Spirit truly does watch over those who seek redemption with a pure heart. It was 1886. The buffalo were gone. Our people were starving on the reservation. The Indian agents, those corrupt white men who controlled our supplies, had cut our rations again to sell them for profit. Children were dying of hunger. I was preparing to raid the agency warehouse, knowing it would likely mean my death, but unwilling to watch another child die. White Wolf came to me the night before the raid. "Brother," he said, "I have a different plan." "What plan?" "We've tried talking. We've tried following their laws. They don't listen. They will listen to this." He pulled out a bundle of papers. "For the last year, I've been learning to read and write the white man's language. I've been documenting every theft, every lie, every child who died because of these agents. I have names, dates, amounts stolen. And I'm going to take this to the white man's newspapers in the big cities." I stared at him. "They'll kill you for this." "Maybe. But these papers are hidden with a white missionary who hates what's being done to us. If I die, they get published anyway. And if I live, I'll make sure the whole white world knows what their government is doing to us." It was insane. It was brilliant. And it was exactly the kind of redemption White Wolf had been seeking. He traveled to Chicago, to New York, to Washington. He told our story to newspapers, to church groups, to anyone who would listen. The Indian agents sent men to kill him. Twice they nearly succeeded. But White Wolf, that broken man who had once betrayed us, now fought with the ferocity of someone with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. His campaign worked. The newspapers published the truth. The corrupt agents were removed. New rations came. Children stopped dying. White Wolf returned to the reservation 3 months later, thinner, scarred from the attempts on his life, but walking taller than I'd ever seen him. "I saved him, brother," he said, tears in his eyes. "I couldn't save everyone from my betrayal 10 years ago, but I saved these children. The scales are a little more balanced." I embraced him. "You're not my blood brother anymore," I said, and felt him stiffen in my arms. "You're something more. You're a brother who died and came back to life, who fell and chose to rise. That's rarer than blood. That's spirit." White Wolf lived another 20 years. He died in 1906, an old man surrounded by 3 generations of Lakota people who knew him only as the hero who had saved the children, the man who had fought the corrupt agents and won. The young ones never knew about his betrayal, but the old ones, we remembered. We remembered both who he had been and who he became. At his funeral, Sitting Bull's son spoke. "This man taught us that one terrible act doesn't have to define a life, that redemption is possible for those brave enough to seek it, that the Great Spirit's forgiveness is infinite for those who truly change their hearts. The decision I made that night, to give White Wolf a chance instead of taking his life, saved more than just my brother. It saved me from becoming a man ruled by vengeance. It taught our people that justice and mercy can walk the same path, and it gave White Wolf the gift every fallen man dreams of, a second chance to write his own story. Now 30 years after White Wolf's death, I am an old man myself. My daughter has grandchildren. The world White Wolf and I knew is gone. The buffalo are extinct. The great camps are memories. Our people live in houses made of wood and stone, speak the white man's language, wear the white man's clothes. But the lesson of White Wolf's life survives. I tell it to my great-grandchildren. I tell them that honor isn't about never falling. It's about what you do after you fall. I tell them that betrayal can be a beginning instead of an end. I tell them that the Great Spirit gives us all the chance to choose every single day who we want to be. If this story moved you, if you believe in second chances, in the power of redemption, in the strength it takes to forgive, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video if you honor those who fight to make amends for their mistakes. Subscribe for more incredible true stories that prove transformation is possible. And remember the words Sitting Bull spoke to me that night: vengeance is easy, mercy takes courage, but redemption, true redemption, takes both the fallen and the one who lifts them up. That's the legacy of White Wolf, the man who betrayed his people and then spent his life saving them. That's the choice I made, to give grace when justice demanded blood. That's the power of the Great Spirit working through broken vessels to create something beautiful from something shattered. The story of Son of Red Sun and White Wolf, a legend of betrayal, honor, and the long road to redemption. May the Great Spirit guide your path. Comment below and tell me your story.